don't believe anything in the media.
Yeah.
Nothing they say. Because all the honest journalists have been driven out of the print and TV media. There's nobody in the American print and TV media who is not a CIA whore. And according to Udo Ulfkati, it's the same throughout Europe. And we know that's the situation in England. I mean, The Guardian is a joke. It's an adjunct of MI5 or MI6 or the CIA. What
Yeah.
they've done to Julian establishes the precedent, and its purpose is to terrify all the honest journalists that are left. And so this is a warning to those journalists who have taken refuge in the alternative media, who still do some investigative reporting. You had better stop, or you're going to suffer the same fate, because we've now proven that you can be arrested and charged for revealing information that embarrasses the United States government. And you can expect that all the European governments, the British government and the German and French and Italian and so on, all of them will adopt this posture. And the French, they've even now arrested Alain Sorel for simply sharing a link on his website to some video. And he's now drawn a 2-year prison sentence for simply sharing a link on his personal website. So what is going on is to close down the avenue of holding governments accountable, which is journalists who receive leaks, who receive documents showing crimes committed by their governments, and they expose that. That now is a criminal act. It has no law. Maybe they'll make some retroactive law now, but it has precedent of what they've done to Julian Assange. I think what you simply see today is the intelligence services. They built up tremendous power during the Cold War. They had the Russian threat, and that justified enormous powers that MI5, MI6, CIA, all of them accumulated. And they really determine it's their agenda. A politician is nothing. He can't get in their way. And if they do, they kill him, like they killed John F. Kennedy. They assassinated Nixon politically with the Watergate hoax, and everybody still believes Watergate. This was a CIA way of getting him out of office because they couldn't kill him right on top of Kennedy. People were suspicious about Kennedy. We saw the attack on Reagan. We still don't know. That doesn't make any sense any more than the Oswald attack on Kennedy. You know, some guy shoots Reagan because he's trying to impress some movie star. Well, I mean, why would that impress a movie star? It's scared to death.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And we've had this admiral, this American admiral, calling for a coup, a military coup against Trump. So these people, they have the power.
Sorry, Paul, you wrote a brilliant article on your website, paulcraigroberts.org, about this. It was only published yesterday. You have to read this, folks. I'll tweet the exact link to the article, but if you go to paulcraigroberts.org, the end of accountable government is close at hand. Paul has written about the CIA's determination over the last 7 decades to undermine the free press, not just in the United States, but also around the world. It's a must-read piece. It really is. It's great work, Paul. And you talk about, you go back to Bernstein, writing in Rolling Stone magazine in the 70s. He was warning people that the CIA was bankrolling press services around the world, you know, English and foreign language ones as well. It's great, great work, Paul, you know. It really is. People need to understand, they need to know this stuff. But I think the vast majority of people don't know. They get their news from whichever side tells them what they want to hear. So they might watch CNN because they like the message. They might watch Fox because they like the message. Sky News in the UK because they like the message.
The message is all the same.
It's all the same. That's right. But it's written in such a way that it speaks to people in a way that makes them think that they're on the right side. Isn't that right?
Well, it could be. But the CIA controls the message. There's no independent media anywhere in the West. Look, Udo Ukof's book is now available in English.
Yeah.
You know, it was printed in German. It was a bestseller. There was supposed to be an English edition, and all of a sudden it stopped. and you could buy a copy or two on Amazon for $1,000. A few copies that got out before it was destroyed and stopped. But now there's a new English publisher, and it's available. And the book's for sale on Amazon for $39. I don't know what would be for Amazon England, but that's here. So the book's now available, and he, of course, was with the largest German newspaper. And he says his whole life he was publishing stories CIA handed him to publish. And he said, this is true of all the journalists in Europe. We all do this. And he describes how they're cultivated and how they get obligated and why they cooperate. And it's just, you can't be a journalist if you don't. If you don't serve the CIA's control over explanations, you literally cannot be a journalist anywhere in England or Europe or the United States. And he makes that clear. And people should, he gives a confession. People should read this. Maybe they would finally come out of this stupor and understand that they are losing any prospect of any privacy, any liberty, freedom, any civil liberty. They are quickly descending into the age of tyranny, because tyranny is what you get when you can't hold governments accountable. The entirety of American freedom was based on the media holding the government accountable. We were supposed to have a dispersed and independent media. Under Clinton, it was concentrated into 6 hands. It's no independence. And even before that, the CIA, through Operation Mockingbird, had all kinds of assets, agents, serving in the media. And they could plant any story and control any explanation. And they did, and they are, and they do. The New York Times, we know for a total fact, is a CIA asset, just like the Washington Post. They've always been, but now they're totally CIA assets. They are not newspapers. They've ceased to be newspapers. They are propaganda organs that allow the ruling elite to control the explanations. Thus, you see, they went overboard with all the Russiagate hoax, and now the Ukraine hoax, and it's always that way. So the main newspapers have always been agents of the intelligence agencies. They've always been. This includes the British newspapers. So it's not that they're protected. They just now understand that they have to serve that master. They don't serve independent news reporting. They don't serve the facts or the truth. They serve the explanations that the elite want the American people and the European people and the British people fed. And if they don't do that, then they're going to get the same treatment as Julian Assange.
So here's the inevitable question then. And this is speculation now, and I'm sure, you can, if you don't want to go there, but I'll ask you anyway. The big online giants like Facebook and Twitter, they must be equally controlled by the intelligence agencies.
Yes, I'm convinced they were funded with the CIA money.
Get us all over there, and let us think that we're over there.
And I would say the same thing about Google and Amazon. Yeah. I believe it's also true of Amazon. Amazon now has been awarded a $10 billion NSA or CIA contract to develop all the information capabilities for the American security industry. Where did these people come from? Where did this Amazon guy come from? Where did the Google guy come from? It's kind of like this Epstein, the pedophile guy who was blackmailing all the Western leaders and apparently members of the British royal family. Where did he come from? All of a sudden, these people appear and they're billionaires. Nobody knows them. Where did they come from? Where did they get the money from?
Out of the blue, yeah.
It's just out of the blue. And they got monopolies. They got monopolies, and they're critical monopolies. Amazon, Google, Facebook, Twitter. And what does Facebook and Twitter do? They take down everything that's against the establishment's point of view. I just read the other day that Facebook has now eliminated another 100,000. No, that YouTube is of course, they're owned by Google now, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude just took down 100,000 videos. So, yeah, this is all. These are all creatures of the intelligence services. I'm certain of that. I can't prove it, but why wouldn't it be? Or why would the intelligence services, when they can control the print and TV news, why wouldn't they also control these things?
Yeah, I don't believe the Zuckerberg story. It's a very convenient story.
Yeah.
The background, I don't buy any of it. I don't think I've asked you this before. Final question, and you can dismiss this if you want. What motivates you, Paul? Because you still have this sense of outrage, which I love. But what keeps the fires burning? What motivates you to write these articles and to do what you do every day?
Truth. If people don't know the truth, they can't be free. And, you know, freedom in the Western sense is really a new thing. The notion that the government is accountable to law, accountable to the people, this is a new idea in terms of history. Basically originated in England, and it got distributed to the colonies. And it's being lost, it's being destroyed. And so what then is a person? He's just some kind of adjunct to whatever the ruler. He's nothing. He's got no protection of law. See, they're turning law into, law is supposed to be a shield of the people. Instead, it's being turned into a weapon in the hands of the government. That's what we see with Assange. He has no protection of law. They've taken all the protection of law away from this guy, and they're using law as a weapon against him. That's the old way of doing things prior to the British Glorious Revolution, prior to the American Constitution. So freedom and the fact that a person is a person in his own right and not some sort of lowly subject of some ruling class. This is unique in history. It came out of England, it went into the colonies, and now it's being destroyed. Well, how can we let something this great of achievement, this precious, be destroyed? But we are. The people are insouciant, they're indifferent, they're indoctrinated, they're brainwashed. I still get letters from idiot feminists who say, well, Assad should be punished. He raped those girls. Well, of course, he didn't rape anybody. But suppose he did. Why would you give up civil liberty of all of us just to punish Assad?
Yeah.
It shows how stupid these people are. You see what I'm saying? They're mindless. And they're losing their very essence. Their soul is draining out as Assange goes. And that's what motivates me. You can't get this back. If you lost it, how are you going to get it back? Particularly in an era of identity politics where the ruling class has everybody at each other's throats. There's no unity. There's no ability to stand against the government. The blacks are too busy hating the whites. And so on, and the women hating the men, and the transgenders, and the whatever, you know, it's so much disunity.
Division, yeah.
There's no ability to stand up to a government. The various groups are busy hating each other, fighting each other. Well, this frees the government. So yeah, it's easy to see. I mean, this is what motivates. I mean, I've got children, grandchildren, they're going to grow up slaves. Their mind will be controlled by the explanations. It's just like I said in my column that you referred people to, that I wrote the other day. We are at the same place that people in George Orwell's 1984 are. Big Brother has complete control over everything they think. And that's where we are. And that's what they use the press for. And the TV. And it's what and we already have a lot of internet sites that are run by the elite. All the big ones full of money. You know what they are.
Yeah, of course.
There are a lot of big internet sites. Where did all that money come from? How are they getting this money when I don't have that kind of luck getting money? And all this stuff is to control the explanation, to combat us. And these sites have cachet that we don't have. Let's go to Salon, let's go to HuffPost. All of these types of sites. This is all security service or some elite elements funding this. How do you have so many paid people, so many different writers, all this? It's just, it's not believable. So they're already operating in the internet. They may not have to do anything to us except just smother us out. They'll have so many of their own internet sites. And then Google simply doesn't list us, so nobody can find us.
Yeah, but you get up every day and you say, not on my watch, which I think is an amazing thing.
As long as I have a watch, yeah, but there'll come a day I'll get up and my site won't be there, and I search for it, and Google can't produce where it is. So they can do that whenever they want. And so that's the future of the United States. There will be no recovery of American democracy. It's lost, just like the Roman Republic was lost when Caesar crossed the Rubicon. There was no way to get the Republic back, despite all the efforts, despite great orators like Cicero, statesmen like Cato. There was nothing they could do. And I think that that's what's happened here in the United States. Essentially, no longer exists as a democracy with a rule of law. And I don't see any possibility of returning to that former status.